All right, my top 5 favorite James Bond movies and what I think are the best James Bond movies that you should see if you've never seen James Bond. Speaking for me as a longtime James Bond fan. So number 1 is Goldfinger. Goldfinger is undisputably the best James Bond movie. It's the best one out of Sean Connery, and Sean Connery, we believe, is like the best, original Bond. And sort of what happened chronologically is Doctor No came out. It was good, had a weird kind of intro though, so it wasn't quite formatted there. The second movie, From Russia with Love, had a better intro scene, but had kind of sleepy moments, throughout it. But this one, it really created the whole formula. Everything from top to bottom of this movie was perfect, pretty much. And I mean, you have Golf and Odd Job. You can't go wrong with that. You know what I mean? So it's number 1. Now, this is what I would rank this as number 2. But this is my personal number 1 favorite is The Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton. If you've never seen Timothy Dalton, you should, because he's my favorite one out of all the Bonds. Why? Because he's angry, he's revengeful, he said stuff your orders, and he did his own thing. And that's great. That was just, it was awesome to see. Okay? It's like all the other ones do follow orders, do stuff. He said, no, screw you. I'm doing my own thing. I'm going after the guys myself. And it is awesome. There's nothing else to say about that. It's just awesome. So, and intense. He's like the most intense one. Alright, so number 3 is going to be Roger Moore of A Spy Who Loved Me. This is what I think is the best Roger Moore, Bond movie. And I can't put my finger on why. The settings, I think it's in Egypt and stuff like that. You have Jaws in it. Jaws, similar to Odd Job, is also one of the great, awesome Bond villains, or henchmen, accessories to the main Bond villain in the Bond universe. So you have that, and you have the white car. The white car that goes underwater, I mean, it's like probably my favorite Bond car out of all the Bond cars. And I'm not a car person. I know nothing about cars. I just think that one's really cool, though. So, and then the next one is Man with the Golden Gun. So it's number 1 with Roger Moore. So this one's great because you have Christopher Lee as the main bad guy in it. Christopher Lee, who was Dracula. Christopher Lee, who was in The Stupids. You have Christopher Lee is the main bad guy, and they're basically in his really exotic resort island, which is really, really pretty looking. And then you have like this place that have like this game room essentially designed like laser tag. And if you ever played laser tag is really fun, and you feel like you're in a James Bond video game when you're playing laser tag. And they basically have this kind of laser tag setup, except it's with the golden gun. It's like they're race to, between James Bond and Scaramanga, which is Christopher Lee, to get the golden gun. It's awesome. So that's just also really cool. And the next best and my favorite James Bond movie is GoldenEye. And why? N64. If it wasn't for the Nintendo 64 game GoldenEye, I wouldn't have discovered the James Bond series. So this is the first James Bond movie I saw. And then after I saw all of them and owned them or whatever, this became James Bond on a whole new level. I mean, this really put it to a, more of a modern, action film. And I'm not really much of a regular standard action movie kind of person. But this one was done really, really well. And it's also awesome. And you have, character Xenia Onatopp, which is Famke Jensen, who's basically a dominatrix persona, and that always jives terrifically with me. So, and I mean, it's just awesome scenes, like at the at the very end with the this whole scene is really cool. And you have like the tank scene that rolls in, you have the train scene. It's like really great stuff. And then the next best James Bond movie is Skyfall for Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig overall as a Bond, I don't like. I don't think he's very good. I think he's very, very boring. And unfortunately, I think most of the Bond movies under Daniel Craig is not so much his fault of an actor or anything like this. I think it's just bad writing, and like the cinematography with the bad writing just didn't really just, I don't know, it just doesn't click. It's just not quite great. But in Skyfall, Skyfall was done really well. So for that period of time, this was really good. And the one thing that's important for Skyfall was that, you know, you learned a whole bunch of new information of James Bond background, which was really interesting for a, you know, longtime Bond fan that's seen everything. So it was something that actually tried to open up and expand the Bond universe. You had more stuff going on with M. You had stuff with, is Bond bi, or has Bond had some experience before? And if not, who cares? Because he certainly doesn't care. So that's about how many seconds you should care, which is like 2 seconds in the movie. And then you have, you know, M dies. Oh, sorry, spoiler. Oh well. It's great, but the rest of Daniel Craig sucks. The movies suck. And George Lazenby in Her Majesty's Secret Service. Fuck that movie. The movie's not interesting or great or done well. So, and there you go. That's what you need to know if you want to start watching James Bond.